Yet again, we are gathering a growing community of leaders from construction, business, finance, academia, government, NGOs, a community of change makers committed to accelerate sustainable construction. So today's event is entitled Unleashing the Potential of Sustainable Construction in the Global South.
We are all convinced about what the construction world represents for the climate. We are all convinced that the 120 plus countries that are committed to carbon neutrality cannot get there if they don't tackle construction, if they don't move fast on sustainable construction. So we all know what we can bring to the climate change, and we are all convinced that we can be a solution. But there is also one thing we know, is that we cannot get there alone. We have to act together.
Very often, we know about the emerged part of the iceberg when it comes to sustainability, the certified buildings. What is not so much known is what stands below the water. So the barometer of Saint-Gobain for sustainable construction is to measure progress in sustainable construction around the world. We questioned 800 people in 10 different countries. While a vast majority of respondents have declared to know about sustainable construction, only 26% of the respondents consider themselves to be fully informed on sustainable construction. This partially developed understanding of what sustainable construction means reveals that there is a huge need for information and education on sustainable construction.
The well-known fact is 1 billion people around the world, so we talked about 2 billion not having access to adequate housing, 1 billion still live in informal settlements. We developed a unique blended financing solution called Microbuild. We brought people in to the core of what we do. We identified the problem, but we also made people the solution. We looked for private investors, but another critical part of what we did was really working with governments. So, people, private, public was instrumental.
I believe that there needs to be a synergy between local needs and the sustainability factor. I would like to also quickly point out the material aspects of it, the kind of materials we use for construction. Along with all of this, I would also like to point out that we are not just building infrastructure and housing. It is about creating an ecosystem of inclusivity. So in general, it is actually delivering public-private partnerships combined with the right kind of materials and pragmatic design.
We need better construction for sure, but we also need better cities. And once we have better constructions, we have better cities. And once we have better cities, we can support better construction. The developers, the investors, they are as responsible for a better city as the city leaders. But we as city leaders, we can also support these private sector members to better do their investments and projects. So, of course, we do it by incentives and by regulations.
We need to look at where we need to have the livelihoods of the people. The reason why people are urbanizing is because they have to move somewhere for a job to survive and to adapt. So why don't we create industries to where people are? I think we still don't have everyone on board. A lot of solutions are coming through, especially we've seen in Africa, through adaptability. They're not waiting for someone to come with a solution. So let's not leave the indigenous knowledge behind.
Innovation is not only done by multinational companies, it's also done by anyone who has talent, who has good ideas. So we are bringing them closer to you. So you can take that and put into your company maybe.
We're focusing on the infrastructural needs, but sometimes neglecting the social and environmental aspect in the process. There is an immediate concern, and I firmly believe that the future architects should not mainly aim on limiting harm, however, actively contributing on restoration and enhancing the ecosystem.
So the opportunity is now. We have to take the wheel. If we're going to wait for commitments for another COP, it's not going to happen.
there's not only just money to be made, there are jobs to be created. We realize that the existing certifications out there are too complex and too expensive for most emerging markets. And so we innovated EDGE based on 3 very simple metrics. One is reducing energy use. 2, reducing water use. And 3, measuring the carbon embodied in construction materials. It's a free online tool for everyone to use. How do we make this understandable for everyone? Well, we leverage partnerships. We leverage professors and universities. And then how do we get finance? We connect the certification to cheaper financing.
Today, sustainability exploded into the mainstream, and I would say it is actually 2020, and when COVID actually happened, then the world seems to be immediately awakens to the fact that the health of planet, people, economy are all interrelated. In order to have our world to be sustainable, greener, and for now and for future. As businesses, we have the flexibility in a way, and we don't need to wait for the government or regulations to tell us, how we can pivot to a new era of, way to do business.
20 years ago, I go to a meeting in European countries and talk about sustainability. There would be like, okay, another tree hugger. But now, with the green finance and with the ESG KPIs, the CEOs of major developers here in UAE, they go and get green finance, and then HSBC sets them a KPI that every year, if they miss those KPIs, then the interest rate shoots up. So we've got their attention. The shift in the mindset is also necessary for making a transformational change. All of us need to get out of our comfort zone. We need to do things differently.
Now we are actually in a very exciting time where sustainability revolutions and digital revolution converge. You believe in innovation, you must invest in it.
The techniques, the levers, they exist. What is needed now is the implementation and acceleration of these levers. And I think it is now the time to incorporate these ESG metrics. Essentially, it's all about making these investments less risky and more attractive for private capital. Anything is possible when everyone comes together.
There is a reason why there's a disconnect between us and what is going on in our cities and in our communities. It is because, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the solutions were very high-end. We're all suffering from climate change. Everyone is feeling the problem somehow at a certain point, So usually, the architecture and the built environment is reflecting what society is feeling. And green buildings have not been that connected for a long time because they were exclusive to high-end communities. Why don't we liberalize what we're trying to do and then see what we get? The sector, the construction sector, is very unique because it's an agreeable sector. You have science, we all agree on the science. You've got unhindered creatives that are willing to work. You've got realists that tell you, well, this is what you can build with, and this is how much it's for, and this is exactly what you need. Climate science is becoming part of the conversation and entering the brief. You've got auditing and inspection and legal frameworks that are there, and culture that is present. And it's one of these unique societies when competitors are collaborators when it's necessary.
We have the chance to live in the real-life world. And we have the chance and the duty to truly make an impact on people. We got a lot of information on creativity, on people, local communities. There is no one-size-fits-all. We have to accommodate local communities, involve the people, not take engineering design, but exactly the tradition, what exists within the different countries and communities, and bring the materials. I ask for all of you to not be shy, we heard it from Ali, out of your comfort zone and truly make an impact, make a change. Yeah.